On today's video, me and Turkey here are going to deep dive into one of John Petrucci's most melodic and underrated solos, Peruvian Skies from Falling into Infinity. Well, hey there kids, it's your good buddy, Uncle Ben. Maybe it's the fact that Dream Theater released a sick new single this week, or it could be that my buddy Andy Wood just got back from teaching at John's Dreamcatcher guitar camp, but I've had Dream Theater on the brain lately. So today seems like the perfect time to break down one of my favorite Petrucci solos. And this is also a great one to work on if you're just getting into playing John's stuff, but maybe you're intimidated by the fact that most of it is like you difficult. This solo is actually not that hard to play. It's got a couple of quick picked runs in it, but other than that, it's not too bad. It's a good one to work on if you want to get your bends and stuff in tune and really learn a lot about phrasing and what makes John's playing tick. Also, really feel like this solo is just John really showing his influences of David Gilmour from Pink Floyd and Steve Lukather from Toto. Both those guys knew how to use chops in really tasteful ways and always highlight the chord changes that they're playing over. But before we dig in, let's hear that solo again at stepdad speed. As always, downloadable tabs, backing tracks, bonus lessons, and so much more are available to everybody who supports my channel over on my Patreon page, patreon.com/Ben Eller Guitars. Even just for the low cost of $1 a month, you're going to get access to all kinds of bonus lessons, backing tracks, and so much more. This week, all my Patreon supporters also get access to a very cool jam track that my buddy Jeff Rupert made that's kind of in the style of Peruvian Skies. It's a cool chord progression that's on loop, that way you can practice all the chord tone targeting ideas we're going to talk about in this video, and it can be yours for just $1 a month. So be sure to click the link in the video description and sign up to my Patreon page today. Thanks! Gear-wise for today's video, I'm playing my lovely vintage Ibanez RG550 here, which is loaded with the Fishman Fluence Classic pickups, which are amazing. I'm running that into a Dunlop 535Q wah pedal, which is a really cool pedal with all kinds of adjustable stuff on it. It's kind of like the Petrucci wah. And I've got that going into the front end of the Fractal Audio Axe FX 3, and I'm just using the dead stock John Petrucci preset on here that's called Learning to Lead, I think is what it's called. Sounds amazing, just like John's tone. And also because I've had a lot of you guys reach out and ask me what Turkey is up to while I'm filming these videos, for today's episode I've put up a very special Turkey cam that's going to be live broadcasting down here at the bottom of the screen. That way you guys can keep up with him and all of his shenanigans. Okay, so this solo is in D minor, the saddest of all keys, and we're going to start off with this ascending run up the G string here on the B flat note. On the G, what you're going to do here is just walk up the dots, okay? Then go to the B string here and play up E, F, G. I see a lot of players that put that run higher up on the neck, but Petrucci plays it down here in the third position. I watched as many live videos as I could to try to nail exactly where he was playing all these licks. That way I could get this as accurate as possible. So after that triplet run, you're gonna pick that G note again and give it a whole step bend. While you've got it held up, see if you can get a little pinch harmonic on there as you let the bend down like that. F, and then you're gonna slide down to the E and give it some really dramatic trilling like that. Just rapidly going back and forth between E and F. After that, slide into C, then F, and give that F note a whole step bend up to G. It's important to notice that most of the time in the solo, whenever Petrucci does a bend, he kind of flexes that wah down too to give it that cool vocal quality. Pick it again, let it down. Little trill here, slide down to D. And then we're going to slide up into this G arpeggio starting off on the 10th fret A string. Again, this is a very typical G major arpeggio shape, and you're just kind of sequencing it. A, D, A, G, D, B, G. Slide into A, F, A, and then do this B flat right here with a whole step bend. Now, sometimes I see people put that bend right here on B instead, and they just do a half step. But I saw one live video that actually had this in frame, and I could clearly tell that his fingers weren't touching the inlay. I could see that 12th fret inlay. So that lets me know that he's doing the bend right there on 11. Now, whenever you do that B flat with that whole step bend, if your guitar's got a dang old kickstand on it, give that thing a little bit of throttling right there for some bar vibrato. After this, what you're going to do is to slide into this little double stop. And again, kind of flex the wah when you do that, like it's really opening up. It's got G and C held down right here, and that also gets some bar vibrato. Now this little section right here is going to be sliding down into these notes. Really specific that you do it this way. And every time you slide down, flex that wah. So you're going to go from C to D to E, and then do the E again with a half step bend. Pull off to D, and that's the end of that phrase. Then we have this really fast 3-note per string run starting from E on the D string like this. I'm pretty sure he's grabbing that last F note. It goes by so fast, it's kind of hard to tell. Plus a wah really helps disguise what notes you're actually playing, so I might be wrong about that last F note, but it makes sense. After you play that F note, play the E note behind it and bend it back to F. Let it down to E. Then we're going to play this. Love that phrase. D, E, bending to F. Grab the G note right here, then back to E. Then we're going to slide into this lick. So again, this is just C, F, C, kind of like what we did earlier in the solo. Love that. Again, it's very David Gilmour. Hitting G, sliding, bending up to A. That was a little pull off to F right there. And then you gotta play this very Jimmy Page style repeating lick. And just like those Jimmy Page licks, it's really hard to nail the timing here. It's very loose and very free flowing over the beat. But here's the lick. And then the last time, see that concluded with a whole step bend. Now in the live videos that I saw, it looks like Petrucci is alternate picking this as he typically does. For myself, I found that really challenging, trying to go down, up, like that. It just felt really awkward to me. So I use my own natural habit of using consecutive downstrokes on strings to play it this way, and you might find this a little bit easier too. I go down, down, up, down. Okay, so there's 2 downstrokes, then it's alternate picked. Up, down, 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 up, down, 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 up, down. I found I could get really good attack and just a solid feel in the right hand if I play it that way. And that's the entire solo. Let's piece that all together here again from the top. Starts off with that triplet run. Trill. G arpeggio. vibrato, slide down, fast run, so it's really not too hard, right? The only really tricky parts in there are going to be getting your bends super in tune. In order to do that, I recommend practicing with a tuner on your headstock, bending up and then checking your tuner to make sure that you got it perfectly in tune like that. And the fast runs are kind of challenging too if you've not done a lot of alternate pick stuff like that. If you're not super comfy with that, you could always try these with legato, like that if you wanted to. Or you could even do kind of that Paul Gilbert style thing where you sort of mix some legato and picking just to get a toe in the water, you know what I mean? So you could do one string legato and then pick, pick, pick. Sounds cool, and that's something I use all the time in my soloing. Plus it gives your right hand a little bit of a break too. You do that up here like this. So that was like hammer-ons, pick, 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 pick. It's a good way to approach that one if you're not comfy with that. Now that particular run, you could economy pick like this. Down, up, down, down, up, down, down, up, down. You know? I just prefer an alternate pick it just to try to be as much like Petrucci as I can. But if you really want to learn what makes this solo tick, it's really important to analyze these licks intervallically in relation to the chords that they're being played over. Again, this is something that I know that Petrucci got from like David Gilmour from Pink Floyd, who's always really excellent at following the chord changes that he's playing over. And if you want to become a more melodic guitar player, not just another guy that plays hot licks and that's all you got, you really got to start paying attention to the chords you're playing over. I always say it's not enough just to ask what key am I in. You got to ask what chord am I in. And then you're going to start selecting the right notes that sound the best against those chords. In the case of this solo, it's taking place over D minor, A minor, C major, G major. Then it goes D minor, A minor, C, B flat. Then the last section there's D minor to C, then to a G with a B in the bass, and then ending on that B flat. It's a pretty straightforward chord progression, but there is one odd one in there, that G major. Now typically in the key of D minor, the 4 chord there, the G, would actually be a G minor chord, but he put a G major in there instead. So what this means is that every time that he's soloing against that particular chord, the G, he's always got to be present and remind himself, oh yeah, over this chord, those B flat notes aren't going to work because this chord doesn't have B flat in it, it has B in it. So that's why you see him play like that G major arpeggio. He's just playing what's already there. And this is a really smart choice. Anytime you're playing over a chord progression that just has one chord that's like out of key, that doesn't exactly fit, and this is way more common than you think it is, it's always a good idea to play the arpeggio. Just use what's already there. You don't have to elaborate and play an entire scale or really communicate that you just changed keys or something like that. If a G chord shows up unexpectedly, that's cool. If you know a G arpeggio, you got something you can use against it. So now that you know the chord progression, take a look at those licks again, especially the really melodic ones, and start to understand how they relate to the chords. Cool thing about this is too, is you can even take those first couple of licks and literally put them into the chord shapes like this. When he starts that first lick against the D minor, he's beginning on A, which is the 5th of that chord. Again, that's a note that's already in the chord. Then he goes down to E as soon as that A minor chord strikes. Again, that's its 5th. So he's on this chord's 5th, this chord's 5th. He continues this idea too when he goes to the C chord. He starts off on a G note, which again is a C note's 5th. Just use what's already there, you know? I call this like a tonal handshake. Whenever you're soloing against a chord and a new chord shows up, Introduce yourself to it. Shake hands with that chord by using something that you know it likes, right? You know this A minor chord likes the note E. That's a great way to shake hands with that chord, introduce yourself to it, and start sounding more melodicer. Again, he does this all over the solo, so take a look at those licks and stuff again on the tab that you're going to get on the Patreon page. Look at what chord is being played over and ask yourself, how do these things relate? What do these notes say to that chord? And that's going to answer all the questions you'll ever have about how to play more melodic, just like Petrucci. So there you go, guys, an awesome John Petrucci solo to add to your repertoire, and it's not even all that hard. I've always thought this is one of John's coolest solos. Be sure to let me know in the comment section below what your favorite John Petrucci or Dream Theater solos are, and we can cover those in a future installment of Weekend Wankshop. Thanks for liking this video and subscribing to my channel. Be sure to ring the bell down there for notifications every time I upload a new slice of fried gold. And if you want to help support my channel and get even more cool stuff, be sure to support my channel over on my Patreon page at patreon.com/Ben Eller Guitars. Well, guys, it's been fun as always, but it's taco time, so I must adjourn. But as for you, I'm going to recommend grabbing that guitar and getting to work on this awesome solo. Less clicking, more picking.